Hi all. Today we are going to talk about prompt engineering in generative AI. So what exactly is a prompt engineering? It's a very highly searched term these days in machine learning world. So let's talk about prompt engineering. But before talking about this, let's first understand what exactly is a prompt. So prompt is nothing but an input text where you will provide your question or your query to that model. In case it can be any model which you might have used, for example ChatGPT. So when you want to get any answer from that ChatGPT, so you will provide your data or request or your question or your query in the input box. So that particular box where you write your question is called as prompt. So today we are going to talk about how we can modify that language written in that prompt or the question in that prompt so that you can get the desired output, you can get the desired results which you want that particular model to return to you. So for example, here we are giving a one question to the model that how many planets are there in the solar system. So this is a query to that model. So if you see at the right hand side, which is also known as output or the completion part, which will incorporate the original question which we had in the prompt along with the answer. So a model has returned us the answer that our solar system has 8 planets, and it has listed all the names and the little bit details about that. So this is how we interact with the model with the help of prompt, and model process it and return us the response. But sometimes model does not provide us the return result in one go. We may need to somehow modify our query or questions. So that is what we will learn about, like how do we do that prompt engineering. So all these things comes into prompt engineering part, like how to rephrase your question, how to modify your question. It can be by changing the language, or it can be by providing some examples. So that is what all about is known as prompt engineering. So let's dig into this. So in prompt engineering, as I mentioned, we might need to revise the inputs. For example, if model has not returned us the desired result, so we may need to rephrase our question. Okay, this is what we want to know, this is what the question is about. So we may need to change our question a little bit, or maybe need to provide some more details, or sometimes we may need to give some examples as well. So this is all these things we call it as in context learning, because we are the left hand side, which is our prompt, we may call it as context as well. So in that question box, in that prompt, or in that context, we are providing the model some samples as well. So that is why we are saying that it's in context learning we are providing along with the questions. So here, for example, we are asking the prompt as classify this review, whether this particular statement is a positive, negative, or neutral. So if we pass this prompt and output says reviewed a book review, that means that model has not understood the question properly. So that is what I was talking about. Sometimes model might not understand our question, like what exactly we want to do. So we may need to edit our prompt, we may need to alter our data input. So that is what we will talk about it today. So it can be of three types: zero shot inference, one shot, or few shot. So what is these shots all about? So if we want to provide one example or one sample data to prompt along with the question, then we call as, we are giving it a one shot inference example, or in context learning we are providing one sample input to the prompt, so that by looking that sample input, it can identify that what exactly user wants to do with the question in hand. Like, I loved this movie, this is a positive review. So example, this is an example, But now, actual question is, I don't like this watch. So it will be able to identify, okay, I need to evaluate this as a sentiment, whether it's a positive or negative. And if we can see the output, model has identified it correctly that it's a negative sentiment. So we have given one example to the prompt model in the prompt, and it has understood, okay, this is what user basically wants me to do. So this is one example of providing sample data to the model, because sometimes small models might need some input data, because there would not be multiple parameters on small models, so we may need to provide some sample data to the prompt. And in case there are few generic models like ChatGPT and all, so these are very well equipped general purpose models, so they don't even need any samples. So if you can supply the question like classify this review, whether this sentiment is positive or negative, so automatically, by without providing any input data or example, it will be able to identify, okay, this is a positive statement. So in those cases we call it as input was zero shot inference. We haven't provided any sample data at all. And there might be some cases where we might need to provide multiple examples to the prompt. In that case we call it as few shot inference. Like at the left hand side we see we have provided two sample values. I love this movie is a positive review. I don't like this watch, it's a negative. Now we are saying to prompt that, okay, based on these two sample data, let's identify the third one. This is not a good car. So here system is able to identify it's a negative sentiment. So this is about providing the input examples along with the prompt